Welcome to another episode of Ask Dubey. Thanks for tuning in. As always, this episode is brought to you by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. Use the code NATION. Bet365 must be 19 or older. Big game for the Oilers last night. A lot of good things out of it. Big comeback. I don't love seeing the bad bounce from Stu in the second period, but those things happen. And I always used to say if bad goals go in or bounces or mistakes or whatever, it's always easier to shake off with a win. And the Oilers did a great job of sticking with it, coming back with a couple quick goals. We just saw lots of good things. We just saw Leon Draisaitl just hammer pucks in from a bad angle, just off the rebound. It's incredible to watch him, the way he scores goals and just how quickly he can just get that puck right back in the net. And then we saw Ty Emberson do his best Leon Draisaitl impression, doing the exact same thing. We got McDavid magic all over the ice, and I really liked their response from a tough bounce behind the net and a 3-2 goal. Easy to go away, easy to feel bad for yourself, and instead they just went right back to the other end, put the pressure on, and got a few quick goals in succession. So things are starting to go the right way for the Oil, and it hasn't been the greatest start, but compared to the past, it's really not that bad, and we know that they're going to turn it on and put their foot on the gas here hopefully soon and get rolling. So with that, let's get right into the questions. Make sure that you keep submitting your questions with the hashtag AskDubey on all social media platforms. I love hearing them. I love answering them. Please keep them coming in. They can be anything. They can be hockey questions. They can be off-topic, off-the-ice questions. They can be about the game last night. They can be about a single player, a play, anything. Just keep them coming, and I'll keep answering them. You can do the hashtag AskDubey on social media or drop them in the comments section below. So from there, we'll get on to the first question. From Camille Darcy. What was the biggest lesson you learned from your time in Edmonton that helped shape the rest of your career? Great question. I don't think there's a single lesson. I kind of look back on my career and I think of just different things that do shape your career as you get older. And I think they're lessons learned that you kind of go through and learn and it's almost down the road that you look back and realize that there was a few things. One maybe not necessarily positive thing out of that time was when I did get to Minnesota, being the team that we had here and where I had played up into that point, is when I got to Minnesota, I kind of learned what it was like to win, to expect to win. Obviously, my time in Edmonton, we didn't have a great team, and I was just getting into the league. I was a rookie. I was trying to get my career started and become an NHL player, become a consistent, on the roster NHL player, and make a place for myself on the team, and really focused on that. Focused on just getting out there and surviving sometimes, really, with the guys, and you're really trying to establish yourself as a player in the league. And so there's a lot of focus on that side of it. And then as you grow, like I said, when I got to Minnesota and we started to win every game, and you realize it's just it's a mindset change. I don't know if it's a maturity thing or we were rolling in Minnesota, but I learned to go into games and to expect to win, and that was just a mindset to have before the game, going into the game expecting to win. Whether it didn't matter the situation in a game, you expect to win. If it's a high scoring game, if it's 5-5 in the third period, or if you're winning 5-4, or you're down 5-4. Expecting to win and just playing and having that feeling that you're going to win. If it's 0-0, if it's 1-0, just whatever the circumstance is. And the more I played and the more I went through it, the more I was able to draw back on that and just remember times that I was in these different situations, and you do end up with a win, and you do end up with that good feeling to kind of draw from that all the time and just have these expectations and know that you can do it no matter what. If you haven't felt good that game, there's games that you don't feel great that you end up winning. There's games that you feel great that you don't win. But just drawing from that and finding a way to just maybe make that save, maybe make that one play, and knowing that you can end out on top. There was lots of times in Edmonton that you're just kind of hanging in there, trying to survive a little bit. So again, it was still great. One thing I will say, for my time in Edmonton that I think I was very fortunate to have was the ability going in, talking about that team not being very good, especially that first year that I came in. I would never take that away because, well, one, I got a lot of shots, so I got a lot of time to work, but I was able to have a chance to work my way to discover how to play in the NHL because it took me a little bit. I didn't jump in. I wasn't great when I jumped in. The pace was very fast. It took me a little bit to adjust. It took me, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 games realistically. I didn't get my first win until my 11th start. And it took me that time to adjust to the game to where at the end of that year, I was playing really well and was now, truly an NHL goalie, which then set me up to get a one-way contract and start my career truly the next year. And there's not a lot of situations, I don't think, in the NHL in a season, especially with the parity now, that you have an opportunity to let a young goaltender just go play through struggles. And with me and Jeff Delorier there, they just, after the Olympic break, told us that we're going to alternate starting every game. It doesn't matter what happens. You're going to play one, you're going to play the next one. We're going to do this to the end of the year. We're going to see what we got with you two. And for me, that was an opportunity that I got to establish myself and adapt and grow my game with, being able to have bumps and learn. And I don't think that, that's not really an option in a lot of places. That's why it's so tough to become a goalie in the NHL, because a lot of teams, you're trying to make the playoffs. You're trying to win hockey games, and you can't afford to throw a young goaltender in there who maybe isn't quite ready to be in there. So very fortunate to have that opportunity at the start of my career, as tough as the losses were. When they piled up, I don't know. You never know the way things go, so I never take anything away. There were some tough times with the losses, but I was certainly grateful looking back on it to have that opportunity to grow into an NHL goalie in Edmonton. All right, next question here from Dylan Goulet. Who is your favorite player to go up against? Hard to say. I guess I'm gonna give you a few different answers here, because favorite player to go up against doesn't necessarily mean I was great against him. So I'm gonna give you a few answers here. My favorite player, one of my favorite players to watch, and was unreal to just be on the ice with and try to defend him, was Pavel Datsyuk. Any younger people watching that haven't watched Pavel Datsyuk, please just go look at his highlight reel. It's something else. To give you an example, my first win in Edmonton was against Detroit, and they scored. I mentioned earlier it was my 11th start, so I was approaching some sort of record for most starts without a win. We were winning 2-1. And they scored with 0.3 seconds left in the third period to tie the game 2-2. Managed to get to a shootout, and this is all to get my first win. And Pavel Datsyuk was the first shooter, and the only thing I could think about was not getting posterized by Pavel Datsyuk. It was the win, the whole getting a save for a win was out the window. I just didn't want to get embarrassed by Pavel Datsyuk in a shootout. And so he came down, and all I was telling myself was like, don't bite. Don't bite. Don't bite on his move. And so, I just sat there in the middle of my net and let him, and he did his move. And I knew he had a couple of kind of patented moves, but I was just like, don't bite on anything. And he made a move to the backhand. And finally I was like, I think I can go now. And I was a little late. Fortunately, he rang it off the post. But this guy, I truly found myself watching. He'd make moves on one-on-ones on the D-man. And I have to like almost click in and be like, oh, right, I'm here to stop it, not watch him play hockey. And it was just the way he was so smooth and so shifty. Again, if you haven't watched him, please go do it. But he was my favorite player to I guess, not that it was easy to play against him, but he was just special to me. On the other side of it, guy I didn't like playing against, has been well documented with all the goals and records he's got now, but I didn't have a whole ton of success against Alex Ovechkin for my entire career. I think I'm up on that list of goalies that he's put pucks by, and I think I've got to be top of the list in goals per 60 minutes because, I'm up there with Marc-Andre Fleury, and Marc-Andre Fleury played a lot of games against Ovechkin, and I didn't. So he was in my head, obviously. I got to keep reminding myself that he scored a lot of goals on a lot of goalies, but yeah, I got every bit of his wrath every time I was out there against him. He was in my head and had no problem putting pucks by me. So that one was tough. And another guy I love to go up against was Sidney Crosby. Same thing. A guy, special player, made you uncomfortable. You just felt like he was just a step ahead all the time. You feel like as a goalie, I felt like I was always in control and knowing what was going to happen, knowing what players were going to do, what they were looking for. And Sid was just one of these guys. You know, there are a few guys like that, but you always felt like he was a step ahead of you in his thinking and what he was looking at, and he always kept you on your toes. So it was very difficult to play against him, but it was always a unique challenge and something that you kind of got a little excited and nervous for every time. Again, didn't play Pittsburgh a ton in my career with them being in the East, but Sid was always something special when I got to go out on the ice against him. Okay, next question here from T. Muller Forever. From a goalie's perspective, is it easier to stop a shot in a shootout than on a breakaway during a game? I don't have any stats to back it up, but it feels like it's easier for a score to happen on a breakaway than a shootout. Interesting, because I would think it's the other way. I always say it never makes sense to me with how quick they are to call penalty shots when guys are just really not careful about how they defend a guy if they're back checking on a breakaway, if they just blatantly hook a guy to give him a penalty shot. It never made sense to me. For me, you know, a breakaway in a game is easier to stop, should be easier to stop, because you have cues to go off of. Is he getting back pressured? Is there a guy chasing him? I used to love to poke check, so that was a big cue for me. If it was a left-handed shot coming down his strong side, and he was getting chased, if he was getting chased, that meant he was thinking about something behind him. So he's got a guy chasing him. I would wait as he came in, and the second he buried his head, I would time it and just go kamikaze head first at him. And that was kind of my cue. But it was, now I did it sometimes in the shootout, very rarely, and those are the only times I kind of got burned doing it because the guy's got his head up. But in a game, you can make reads off of that. You know, that same thing with all those times. Where's he getting pressured from? Is he getting pressured off his hip? Is he, you know, is he going 100 miles an hour so you can get your stick active or whatever it is? There's all these cues that you can read off of. And again, he's got other things going on in his head in a game if there is any sort of pressure. Obviously, if he gets a breakaway from the far blue line, different story. You're essentially in a shootout anyway, other than he's got to go a little bit quicker. But I find that shootouts would be more difficult. You know, I guess the players can psych themselves out a little bit. It's definitely a different mental game in a shootout because there is nobody on them. Everybody's watching that play. There's, you know, they'll slow down. Guys will try different things. So maybe there is some advantages where the players maybe try too much. I don't know. But for me, in a shootout, the players in a lot more of control themselves because they can control their speed. They can control the exact angle that they come in from. They're really good shooters. They're looking to make you do something, and they're in control of it. They're not getting pressured from anybody. They have nobody trying to deter them from what they're doing. So there's just more in their court that they can control, whereas in a game, there's more in the goalie's side that they can control or are having other people that are trying to defend at least help control. So I would go the opposite with that. I don't know if stats back that or not, or if that, you know, the shootout mentality of it throws the forwards off. But I certainly think that you should have a better opportunity to stop an in-game breakaway because of the cues that I mentioned. Okay, next question from our good friend Tyler Yaremchuk. In honor of the sports equinox happening this week, if he could have gone pro in any other sport, which one would he pick? Great question, Tyler. I had to think about this one a little bit because I love golf. I'm a big golfer. You always think, oh yeah, I'd be a professional golfer. I get to golf every day, but I don't think so. I think that being a professional golfer would be an absolute grind every single day. The amount these guys play, the amount they practice, you're by yourself, the amount they travel. I mean, these guys earn their money, and I can't make a putt I can't make a 6-foot putt if it's for $10, never mind in front of thousands of people on TV. So I know that wasn't the question. It's not what you'd be good at, because I certainly wouldn't be good at that. I'm pretty good at golf, but not at putting or doing it in front of people. But I don't know. I think golfing would be too much of a grind. I think, and here's the other thing, is that the answer I'm going to go with is I'm going to go with baseball, because I think baseball is just relaxed. You know, they hang out in the clubhouse. They're kind of they're a family. They do everything together. You know, they're playing cards in the clubhouse. Some guys, you know, look at like a pitcher. They don't even play most of the games. And if you go into a game, you know you're not playing. You just get to hang out with the boys and watch. I think that'd be the best lifestyle. Now, the only downside to that is, I mean, these guys play 162 games a year or whatever it is. They're there all day, every day. Pretty tough to see a family, to see your kids, and obviously these guys do, and they have families and all that. But man, that would be a lot of time away, which I think would take away from it. But I think that would be the best one. To be honest, hard to argue that hockey's not the best sport to play. Don't get me wrong, $250 million contracts or whatever these guys are making in the NBA would be fantastic too. But I think the hockey, the season, the culture, the companionship, just the whole thing, obviously slightly biased on this one. It's got to be the best sport to be a part of. So I got lucky that way, but I will go with baseball to the answer for that question from our friend Tyler. All right, guys, that's it for another episode of Ask Dubey. Thanks for all your questions. Again, I mentioned at the start, get your questions in with the hashtag AskDubey on all social media, or drop it in the comments section below. Keep them coming. Anything you can think of, I will try to do my best to answer. If we don't get it answered, we do bank these questions. We're going to try to get to all of them. So anything to do with the league, off ice, Oilers, goaltending, whatever it is, fire my way and I will get it answered for you. This segment is brought to you by our friends at Wilhauk Beef Jerky. Only the finest tasting meat products earn the Wilhauk name. Made from 100% pure Alberta beef, Wilhauk Beef Jerky is aged, seasoned, marinated, and smoked to savory perfection. It is so good. Wilhauk Beef Jerky gladly fills orders of any size. Find their beef jerky, sausage, and other products exclusively out of their Leduc location, or you can order online. Get your jerky on. For more info, go to wilhaukbeefjerky.com.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.